I was peeking at the handsome young firefighters during their training when I got caught red-handed. My best friend bolted instantly, leaving me with my head stuck in an iron gate. The young firefighters surrounded me. To avoid dying of embarrassment, I looked stiffly at my ex-boyfriend, the fire captain. "Darling, are you tired from training?" He raised an eyebrow. "Who are you?" "Me." It had only been a year since university graduation, and my mother and I had gone from loving each other to being thoroughly fed up with one another. The reason was simple. She was desperate for me to get married, and I was single. To preserve our precarious mother-daughter relationship, I decisively rented a place and moved out. I ended up renting an apartment directly opposite my best friend's. On my first day moving in, my best friend Chen Qi said to me mysteriously, "Come on, I'll show you something good." "What good thing?" "You'll see when we get there." She led me out of the complex, around an alley, to an open area. Then she pushed aside the grass beside her, leaned against a rusty iron gate, and waved at me. "Hurry and look." I walked over to her curiously and followed her gaze. My eyes immediately widened. On the other side of the gate, a dozen handsome young firefighters were jogging around the training ground. They were shirtless, each with a muscular build, especially the man at the front. In the harsh sunlight, his honey-toned skin seemed to glow. Sexy and captivating. Gulp, I couldn't help but swallow. My eyes traced his perfect physique upwards, and when I saw his face, I jumped in shock. Wasn't this my ex-boyfriend, Zhou Xi? We had dated at university and gone our separate ways after graduation. He was handsome, arrogant, and a typical rich kid. I thought he would go home to inherit the family business after graduation, never expecting him to become a firefighter. I wondered if my gaze had been too intense. He suddenly looked over. After pausing for a moment, he changed his jogging route and ran towards me. "Run! We've been spotted!" My best friend reacted instantly and fled in a flash. I prepared to run too, but as I moved, my neck hurt. Only then did I realize that I'd been staring so intently, stretching my neck out so far, that somehow it had gotten stuck in the iron gate. "Kiki! Help me!" I called to my best friend. It was as if she hadn't heard my plea. Her steps didn't slow at all. "That heartless traitor!" I cursed her in my head while twisting my head left and right, trying to find an angle to free myself. The young firefighters, led by Zhou Xi, quickly surrounded me. They looked at me, stuck in the gate with my bottom sticking out, and laughed heartily. Of course, this didn't include Zhou Xi. Zhou Xi stood to my left, his handsome face expressionless, impossible to read. As if intimidated by his aura, the other young men kept a safe distance from him and stood to my right. "Miss, what were you looking at?" one of them asked. My face burned with embarrassment. What else could I be looking at? Handsome guys, obviously. But of course, I couldn't say that out loud. To avoid embarrassment, I looked at Zhou Xi. "Darling, I just came to see if you're tired from training. Targeting one person was better than targeting a whole group. After all." "Captain, is she your girlfriend?" "Wow, Captain, your girlfriend is so pretty." I thought I might have a chance, but the captain got there first. Woe is me. I hadn't expected Zhou Xi to become captain in just a year. As expected of the man I once chose. Respect. The young firefighters teased me one after another. Zhou Xi, however, remained silent. Afraid the lie would be exposed and make the embarrassment even worse, I mounted Zhou Xi from an angle the others couldn't see. "For the sake of us being EXCs, please, help me keep this lie going. Please, please." I looked at Zhou Xi pitifully. He'd always been unable to resist my puppy eyes in the past. Sure enough, a flicker of emotion crossed his deep, calm eyes. But it was gone in an instant, returning to normal. Under my expectant gaze, his thin lips parted slightly. "Who are you?" "Huh? Miss, our captain says he doesn't know you. Did you just make this up?" "Lots of people chase our captain. You've got some competition, Sai. I thought someone as cold as our captain had a secret soft side." Guess I was wrong. I really hadn't expected Zhou Xi to pretend he didn't know me. This guy was even colder than I thought. Humiliated in front of so many handsome young men, I wanted to bury my head in the ground. Could you get me out of here first?" I said weakly. The young firefighters finally remembered I was still stuck. They quickly fetched pliers and cut the gate open. As soon as I was free, I turned and ran. After all, every second I stayed was another second of humiliation. However, before I'd run more than a few steps, the back of my neck was grabbed. The man seized my collar, his voice magnetic and pleasant, but cold. "You broke the gate. You'll have to pay for it. I pulled out 500 yuan as quickly as I could and stuffed it into Zhou Xi's hand. His grip still didn't loosen. Peeking isn't appropriate. Write a 2,000-word self-criticism before you leave. I finally understood. This guy was clearly taking personal revenge. Rage surged within me, and I secretly pinched my thigh. Instantly, my eyes filled with tears. I looked at Zhou Xi with an accusing gaze. Darling, I know you're sick of me, but I'm pregnant with your child. As my words fell, the atmosphere went silent. The young firefighter stared at Zhou Xi, dumbfounded. Zhou Xi's face darkened, but his hand holding me still didn't let go. He was determined to fight this out with me. Captain, is what this lady saying true or false? If it's true, you have to take responsibility for her and the baby in her belly. Even if you're the captain, I won't respect you if you don't do the right thing. The young firefighter's words turned Zhou Xi's face as black as thunder. He ground his teeth. We're all adults. Don't you have any judgment? The young firefighters looked at Zhou Xi's stern face, hesitating. They then looked at me, and I quickly squeezed out more tears. The wavering young firefighters once again looked at me with sympathy. Just as one was about to speak up for me, Zhou Xi blew his whistle before they could. Attention everyone. 5-kilometer run go. Yes, sir. The young firefighters responded in unison and all returned to jogging around the ground. Only Zhou Xi and I remained at the scene, along with an older man who sauntered over with his hands behind his back. The man clapped Zhou Xi on the shoulder. CI, work is important, but you must also sort out your family affairs. You're not young anymore. Since there's a child now, the wedding should be planned. He was clearly Zhou Xi's superior. Even though he was mistaken, Zhou Xi couldn't make him run 5 kilometers, so he could only remain silent. In that case, I'll give you the afternoon off. Go and rest properly. With that, the older man sauntered away again. The atmosphere went quiet for a moment, and Zhou Xi dragged me towards the fire station. Where are you taking me? No matter what, I'm not writing a self-criticism. He ignored me and led me all the way to the waiting room before letting go. Wait here quietly. I'm going to change. You, why are you changing? He glanced at my flat stomach and said through gritted teeth, to accompany you and the child, of course. Me? I wasn't stupid. There was no way I was waiting for him. As soon as his figure disappeared from sight, I immediately ran for it. I followed the same route back, under the gaze of the young firefighters running their 5 kilometers. I squeezed out through the large hole in the gate. I ran all the way to the alley we'd come from, and only when I saw Chen Qi waiting for me did I let out a huge sigh of relief. Susu, are you okay? My best friend Chen Qi patted my back. I slapped her hand away in annoyance. Now you care about me? You ran faster than a rabbit earlier. She shrank back guiltily. I was just so nervous. I promise, if this ever happens again, I won't leave you and run. She grabbed my arm and pleaded. Susu, I'm sorry. Forgive me just this once. I couldn't resist her pleading, and my attitude softened. Since you've apologized so nicely, I'll forgive you this time. Susu, you're the best. She pouted and pretended to kiss me. I pushed her away in disgust. As we messed around, she suddenly stopped and frowned ahead. I followed her gaze and saw a tall, slender man standing at the end of the alley. He was backlit, his face unclear, but I recognized him at a glance. It was Zhou Xi. My heart skipped a beat. What was he doing here? Was he here to block me? I felt a little flustered, but I tried to look calm. I continued walking forward with Chen Qi. As we got closer, Chen Qi also saw Zhou Xi's face clearly. That's the fire captain, isn't it? Chen Qi looked at Zhou Xi, then at me. Susu, why do I get the feeling he's here for you? That's exactly what I'm thinking, thanks. I replied with a fake smile. Zhou Xi's gaze on me was simply too intense. It was impossible not to notice. Blimey, this fire captain is really petty, isn't he? Chen Qi muttered quietly. I thought to myself, maybe it's because I'm his ex. The alley was narrow, barely wide enough for Chen Qi and me to walk side by side. Zhou Xi stood right in the middle, blocking the path completely. Excuse me, please, I said to Zhou Xi. He didn't move an inch. The atmosphere grew tense. At that moment, Chen Qi let go of my arm and said to Zhou Xi, Captain, this has nothing to do with me, so I'll just be going now? At that, Zhou Xi slightly stepped aside. To my shock, Chen Qi betrayed her friend and ran off again. When I also tried to rush past, Zhou Xi blocked the exit again. Zhou Xi, what exactly do you want? What do I want? He gave his signature fake smile. Of course, I'm here to walk you home. in case you trip and hurt my child. You! Meeting Josie's provocative gaze, I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. In that case, thank you for your trouble. It's my duty. No trouble at all. I ground my teeth in anger. So can you move now? Of course. Josie and I walked one behind the other. Feeling his steps following closely behind me, I ground my teeth angrily. He wants to follow me. Does he? We'll see how long he can keep this up. Josie was more persistent than I thought. He didn't show any signs of leaving until we reached the door of my rented apartment. Standing at the door, I took a deep breath and looked at Josie. I'd like to remind you, once you enter my place, what happens next is out of your control. Naturally. He looked fearless. I had no choice but to take out my keys. I'd just inserted the key into the lock and hadn't turned it yet, when the door opened from the inside. You're back. How do you like the things I bought you? My mother said, about to enter the room. When she saw Josie, she paused. Who is this? My heart skipped a beat. Although she was usually annoyed with me at home, she'd been reluctant for me to move out. To show her motherly love, she'd bought me a bunch of things and said she'd drop them off later. But I never expected later to be now. And to run into Josie. He's my friend. Before I could finish speaking, Josie stepped forward, put his arm around my shoulder, and said to my mother, Hello, Auntie. I'm the father of the baby in Susu's belly. Not only my mother, but I myself was stunned speechless by Josie's words. Unable to react for a long time. Has this guy lost his mind? To get back at me, he'd even told this joke to my mother. Seeing my mother's face change drastically, I quickly tried to explain. Mum, he's just my friend. Before I could finish, a huge smile suddenly appeared on my mother's face. Move aside. She pushed me out of the way with her shoulder, her eyes sparkling as she looked at Josie. Oh, so you're my son-in-law. A pleasure to meet you. With that, she pulled Josie inside and eagerly poured him tea, handed him fruit. Thank you, Auntie. Don't mention it. We're family now. Seeing Josie take a sip of tea, my mother asked, So, Zhao, since you and our Susu have a baby now, when are you getting married? Auntie, seeing things getting more and more ridiculous, I quickly rushed in and pulled my mother aside. Mom, I've been living at home until recently. My period finished only a week ago. Don't you know if I'm pregnant or not? At that, my mother froze. She clearly remembered the time she'd grumbled and run downstairs to buy me sanitary pads. I thought the ridiculous topic would finally end, but my mother looked at me disapprovingly. So what if she's not pregnant now? Can she get pregnant later? Zhao is so handsome, and judging by his clothes and temperament, his family must be well off. You'd better hold on to him. Giving me a hopeful look, my mother went back into the living room, picked up her bag, and left in a flash. Before leaving, my mother pushed me into the room and closed the door thoughtfully. Bang! Josie and I stared at each other. Seeing my dumbfounded expression, Josie couldn't help but laugh. Catching the laughter in his eyes, I snapped out of it and felt furious. Ex-boyfriend or not, if you're unkind, don't blame me for being unfair. I walked up to Josie, pushed him down onto the sofa, and smiled maliciously. Since you're the father of my baby, then whatever I want to do to you is allowed, right? I deliberately glanced at his collar a few times, my intention clear. The man raised an eyebrow, looking completely unafraid. What do you want to do to me? The more unflappable he was, the angrier I got. I slowly closed the distance between us. Just as my red lips were about to meet his thin ones, he still showed no reaction. Gritting my teeth, I kissed him directly. The brief touch made my heart skip a beat. I quickly pulled back. At that moment, the man grabbed the back of my head and deepened the kiss. Josie's kiss was domineering and intense, and I lost myself in it uncontrollably. But just then, as if waking from a dream, the man suddenly pushed me away. He then stood up and left without looking back. Bang! The door slammed shut, jolting me back to my senses. I felt both shy and angry. Even if someone was at a disadvantage, it should be me, right? Why was he so angry? Acting like he was the one who'd been taken advantage of. Hey, as if I cared. Angrily wiping my lips, I poured a glass of water and drank it in one go. My racing heart gradually calmed down. Just then, my best friend Chen Qi's voice came from outside. Susu, are you home? Open the door. Thinking about how she'd betrayed me twice, I couldn't be bothered to answer. I heard you moving around in there. Don't pretend you're not home. I'm not that easy to fool. I really am sorry this time. Forgive me just once more. When she saw I was determined to ignore her, it went quiet outside. Half an hour later, As I was about to take a nap, Chen Qi's voice sounded again. Susu, I bought milk tea, fried chicken, and loads of snacks. If you don't open the door, I'm going to eat them all at my place. At that, I immediately jumped up from the sofa like a carp and opened the door for Chen Qi. Grabbing the bags from her hands, I was about to close the door. Unexpectedly, as if she'd predicted my move, she squeezed in through the gap. Calm down. Calm down. She inserted a straw and handed me a cup of milk tea. I rolled my eyes at her. Only after we'd eaten our fill did she tentatively ask, Susu, what's your relationship with that fire captain? Just friends. As if I believe you. I definitely heard him say he's the father of your baby and your... A vein popped on my forehead. He's my ex-boyfriend. We met at university and broke up amicably after graduation. I see. She nodded in understanding, then muttered, but judging by the way he treated you, it doesn't seem like an amicable breakup. I get the feeling he still resents you for it. Chen Qi had voiced my own thoughts. But why would Zhou Xi resent me? My thoughts involuntarily drifted back 3 years. Zhou Xi had always been a big man on campus. Tall, handsome, and rich. In comparison, I was much more ordinary. We'd met because an anonymous post I'd made on the campus confession wall, declaring my feelings for him, had been exposed by the wall's admin, who also liked him. This incident had dominated the top of the school forum for a while. From then on, Zhou Xi appeared in my life many times, and we naturally got together. That was until near graduation. For some reason, Zhou Xi started getting busy. Feeling neglected, I decided to go and confront him, only to see him with the campus beauty, Lin Zhu, looking sweet together. That's when I realized his so-called busyness was because he had a new target. What could I do? Of course, I chose to let him go. I broke up with him directly and blocked him. I never expected him to have the nerve to come looking for me. To avoid looking too pathetic, I'd grabbed a random guy from the street to act as my new boyfriend. Zhou Xi had stormed off angrily and never appeared in front of me again. So, no matter how you looked at it, he was the one who'd wronged me first. I hadn't blamed him. Yet now he was blaming me. It was ridiculous. But then again, it just goes to show, you shouldn't meet someone too amazing when you're young, otherwise you might end up alone forever. After graduation, my mother, desperate for a grandchild, had set me up on countless blind dates despite my protests. Tall, short, fat, thin, handsome, ugly, I'd met all types, but compared to Zhou Xi, they all seemed lacking. My love life wasn't going well. Chen Qi, however, had found romance. Early one morning, she was drawing for a part-time job. Chen Qi knocked on my door. She was dressed up nicely, her face shy, a complete contrast to her usual boisterous self. Susu, I have a date today. Can you come with me? Why would I go on your date? To be a third wheel? It's the first time. I'm shy. You can give me some moral support. Her awkward behavior was so novel that I smiled and agreed. All right. I didn't put on any makeup, just put on my usual clothes, and set off with her. When we arrived at the restaurant, Chen Qi's date was already there, and he'd brought a friend. Hello, my name is Zhu Hao. I'm Kiki's boyfriend, Zhu Hao said shyly. Chen Qi blushed even more, wanting to disappear into a hole. The man next to Zhu Hao then introduced himself. Hello, I'm Zhu Hao's friend, Du Ming's. Hello, I'm Kiki's best friend, Bai Susu. After introducing ourselves, we sat down. Zhu Hao handed us the menu. Order whatever you like. It's my treat. Chen Qi was too embarrassed, so she let me order. After ordering, I looked at Zhu Hao and leaned into Chen Qi's ear, whispering, why do I think he looks familiar? Chen Qi was too shy to speak. It was Zhu Hao who reminded her awkwardly. We met yesterday. When did we meet yesterday? As I spoke, my words trailed off. Yesterday, besides seeing Chen Qi, Zhou Xi, and my mother, the only other people I'd met were those young firefighters. Realizing this, I looked at Zhu Hao's face and found him more and more familiar. Wasn't he the young firefighter who'd fetched the pliers to cut me free yesterday? No wonder he'd run so fast to get the pliers. So there was a history there. Putting two and two together, I twisted Chen Qi's ear. So you were sneaking over there to peek at him? I'm sorry. Chen Qi begged for mercy repeatedly. After some playful fighting, she relaxed a lot, no longer as nervous as before. I looked across at Du Ming's. You look familiar too. Are you also in the fire service? I just couldn't place which one he was. Du Ming shook his head. No, I'm your junior. I was confused. The one you met briefly before. Realization dawned, and I slapped my thigh. I remember now. It's you! He was the junior I'd randomly grabbed from the street to make Josie jealous. Thank you, junior. You thanked me yesterday, senior. Seeing that Dominguez and I knew each other, Chen Qi's eyes lit up with curiosity. You too. She gave us a suggestive look. It's not what you think. I told her the whole story in annoyance. Zhu Hao suddenly understood. So you really are our captain's ex? Then what about your belly? No, baby. It was a trick to annoy him. I see. Daring to trick our captain, Sister Susu. You're awesome. I'll toast you with tea. Is your captain really that great? Absolutely. When it came to Josie, Zhu Hao sounded a little intimidated. Our captain is famous for being a cold-faced king. I just pricked up my ears to listen carefully when Zhu Hao suddenly stopped. Go on. I urged impatiently. Tell me how scheming, decisive, and ruthless he is. As I continued speaking, Zhu Hao's eyes started twitching. I asked concernedly, what's wrong with your eyes? Should you go to the hospital? Seeing I was completely clueless, he resignedly said behind me, Captain. I jumped in shock. Turning around, I saw Josie standing behind me with a dark face, getting caught bad-mouthing someone. Is there anything more embarrassing? I stiffly turned my head to meet Josie's dark face. He ground his teeth. Thank you for your evaluation. You're welcome. He was about to say something else when his phone rang. Josie took the call and walked out of the restaurant. When he came back in, he was supporting a pregnant woman. Looking at the pregnant woman's face, although she was a bit plumper, I recognized her immediately. It was the former campus beauty, Lin Zhu, the one Josie had cheated with. Wow! So it seemed that after university, Josie had quickly married Lin Zhu and they were having a baby. What a complete scumbag. His wife was so heavily pregnant, looking like she was due any day. Yet yesterday he'd followed me home, said those things in front of my mother, and kissed me. No, I had to expose this scumbag's true colors. But if I exposed him directly, would it upset Lin Zhu? A pregnant woman's emotions shouldn't fluctuate too much. I couldn't be too blunt. After that, I barely listened to the conversation at the table, my mind full of how to warn Lin Zhu. Finally, I thought of a way. I called the waiter and ordered a bunch of dishes. Send these to that table. Say it's my treat. Certainly. Then I watched the table. A pile of stir-fried greens, all green. The hint was obvious enough, right? However, Lin Zhu didn't seem to notice at all and ate happily. As if to annoy me, Josie even served her a few more dishes. So annoying. I couldn't let this scumbag get away with it. When Josie went to the bathroom, I quickly rushed over to his table. Before I could open my mouth to warn her, Lin Zhu's eyes lit up. It's you. Her delighted reaction caught me off guard. It felt strange. We weren't really close. She had no reason to be this happy to see me. But we were schoolmates. Maybe this reaction was normal? Time was pressing, so I didn't think much of it. Lin Zhu, have you noticed anything strange about Josie lately? Judging by Josie's scumbag behavior, he must have been unable to resist and was seeing other women while Lin Zhu was pregnant. At that, Lin Zhu thought carefully and replied, no, I hadn't expected Josie to be such a good actor. Considering Josie could come back at any moment, I had to be more direct. It's just, let's just say, is there any chance Josie is a scumbag? Huh? Lin Zhu looked confused. I mean, look at Josie. I couldn't just tell Lin Zhu straight out that Josie had been intimate with me yesterday. I could only analyze Josie's scumbag tendencies for her. Look, Josie is so handsome. Back at school, so many girls chased him, and there will only be more now that he's out in the real world. Besides, if he didn't give someone the wrong idea, would they be so devoted to him? So, Lin Zhu looked at me questioningly. So I think Josie is a scumbag. Before Lin Zhu could react, Josie's voice exploded behind me. Who are you calling a scumbag? I froze. Help! Getting caught bad-mouthing him twice. This is the end. I didn't need to turn around to know how ugly Josie's face was behind me. But just then, Lin Zhu looked at Josie and asked, Brother, is this the ex-girlfriend you've been thinking about? Brother? Thinking about? I was utterly confused. Yet Josie replied quietly. Boom, something exploded in my mind, leaving me at a loss for words. So Lin Zhu was Josie's sister? I'd misunderstood the relationship between Josie and Lin Zhu back then, so I'd grabbed the junior Dominguez to make Josie jealous. I thought he was cheating. He thought I was cheating, leading to our breakup. I suddenly didn't know how to face Josie. I trotted back to my table. Nothing else happened for the rest of the meal. Until after dinner, Chen Qi and Zhu Hao left first, lovey-dovey, leaving me in Du Ming's care. Du Ming's looked at me. Senior, let's add each other on WeChat. Sure. I took out my phone. Before I could scan Du Ming's QR code, a hand with distinct knuckles suddenly reached out. It took my phone. It was Josie. He frowned at Du Ming's. You're not close to her? As he spoke, an innate aura radiated from him. Du Ming's, who'd been normal a second ago, suddenly became nervous. Senior, and I only met for the second time today. And a year ago, Senior just grabbed me randomly from the street to make you jealous. So that's how it was. Josie looked at me, his eyes deep. I avoided his gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. It seemed he'd also realized it had all been a misunderstanding. In that case, add me on WeChat. If you need to contact your senior about anything in the future, send me a message. Really? Senior, you're my idol. Du Ming's eyes immediately lit up. I watched you play basketball at school. You were so cool. Watching Du Ming's reaction, I felt utterly bewildered. After adding him, Josie said, in that case, you can go. I'll see your senior home. Sure thing. Du Ming's left quickly, not even a word of protest. Hey, wait a minute. Before I could finish protesting, he disappeared without a trace. Helpless, I could only withdraw my hand awkwardly. Brother, the driver's here. I'll be going too. With that, Lin Zhu walked outside. Josie hurried to support her. I followed them out. After Lin Zhu got into the car, he looked at me. The atmosphere was a bit awkward, so I made small talk. Lin Zhu is your sister? Same parents? Naturally. Then why do you have different surnames? I took Mom's surname. She took Dad's. I see. The silence returned. Josie hailed a taxi casually, opened the door, and let me get in first. We rode in silence all the way to my door. I'm home. The implication was, you can leave now. Josie, usually so sharp, acted as if he didn't understand. I walked you home. It's only fair I come in for a cup of tea, isn't it? Fine. After a cup of tea, he still showed no signs of leaving. I was trying to think of an excuse to get rid of him. Bang, bang! There was a knock at the door. I opened it. I saw workers wearing moving company vests pushing several large boxes inside. What's this? Josie spoke up just in time to answer my confusion. These are my things. He checked the number of boxes and signed the form. The workers then left with the form. Closing the door again, I looked at Josie angrily. Why are you moving your things into my house? You're pregnant with my child, so of course I need to take care of you closely. I felt exasperated. Josie, that was just me being angry. I'm not pregnant at all. It doesn't matter. He took out his phone and showed me the screen. Look, your aunt messaged me not long ago, telling me to win you over quickly. When I saw the chat log, I felt even more furious. When did you add my mom on WeChat? Delete her immediately. No, as he refused. I lunged for his phone. He was tall, and when he held his phone up, I couldn't reach it at all. Gritting my teeth, I jumped up suddenly. His body, however, leaned back onto the sofa, and I fell on top of him. Our noses almost touched. My heart suddenly raced. As Josie's thin lips drew near, I quickly pushed myself up from his chest and went back to the bedroom. Confused, I decided to sleep. I was woken up by the smell of food. Following the scent, I walked out of the bedroom. I saw Josie wearing an apron, cooking in the kitchen. For a moment, I thought back to the flamboyant figure on the basketball court back at university. In just 1 year, the once bright and sunny young man had grown into someone steady and mature. At first glance, he even looked a bit like a house husband. Under my stunned gaze, Josie carried the food to the table. Eat. His magnetic voice pulled me back to my senses. I sat at the table, intending to take just a tentative bite, but I couldn't stop. I ate 2 big bowls of rice in one go. Wow, Josie, your cooking is amazing. Stuffed. I gave him a thumbs up without hesitation. He smiled faintly. Seeing as my cooking is good, can I stay? You can stay, but you're in charge of lunch and dinner. Deal. I thought keeping Josie would mean I wouldn't have to order takeout every day, but by evening, I realized there was a problem. I'd rented a 1-bedroom apartment. There was only 1 bedroom. I pulled out a quilt and put it on the sofa, then looked at Josie. You sleep on the sofa. He pressed his lips together and said nothing. I took his silence as agreement. Anyway, there was no way I was sleeping on the sofa. If Josie didn't like it, he could leave. Snorting, I washed up early and lay on the bed. I tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Just then, the bedroom door opened. Josie walked in. I want to sleep in the bed too. No. I crossed my arms. How about this? He simply took off his shirt. My eyes immediately widened. I couldn't take it. Almost without thinking, I got up, pulled Josie over, and pinned him down. When I woke up the next day, Josie was no longer beside me. Thinking about how I'd given in to temptation and taken Josie to bed last night, I felt a wave of regret. After washing up, I went to Chen Qi's place opposite. After telling her what had happened last night, instead of being angry, she looked envious. Captain Joe is so handsome and has such a great body. You're not losing out. I wonder when my How will get the message. I had to hold his hand yesterday. Is that normal? At that, I sighed deeply. You don't understand. Even though I'd broken up with Josie over a misunderstanding. Now, even though the misunderstanding was cleared up, it didn't mean everything was back to normal. I just felt things were moving too fast with Joe. Too fast for me to be sure if he really liked me, or even how much I liked him. Of course I don't understand. All I know is, when you meet a handsome guy, you don't let him go. I lazed around at Chen Qi's place all day. In the afternoon, our nap was interrupted by a violent knock on the door. You open it. You open it. Chen Qi and I pushed each other for a while, and finally, she gave in and got up to open the door. Kiki, come quick. The flat next door is on fire. It was Zhu Hao. Next door. But that's Susu's place. Chen Qi screamed. Their conversation jolted me awake instantly. What had happened? How had my flat caught fire? Oh right. I'd boiled eggs that morning, planning to eat them when I got back, but I'd ended up staying at Chen Qi's all day. Zhu Hao's voice continued. Yes. The fire is huge. Go downstairs first. We'll rescue Sister Susu. But Susu is here with me. Chen Qi replied, utterly confused. I walked out at that moment. Seeing me, Zhu Hao froze for a second, then tears welled up in his red eyes. He shouted towards my front door, Captain, Sister Susu isn't home. Come out quickly. Only then did I notice that beneath the thick smoke, the firefighters all looked solemn and grief-stricken. Realizing what had happened, my voice trembled. Where's Josie? Zhu Hao couldn't hold back any longer and choked up. The captain went in to save you. The fire was too big. He shouldn't have gone in, but he insisted on saving you. I looked across at my front door. Dozens of fire extinguishers were spraying, but the fire was still raging. Josie had risked his life for me. An indescribable emotion welled up inside me, and I cried out, Josie, I'm here. Come out quickly. The firefighters also shouted, Captain, Sister Susu isn't home. Come out. However, there was still no movement at the door. With a fire that big, there was no way out. The thought that Josie might have, my heart ached convulsively. He'd risked his own life for me. Whether it was from overwhelming sadness or the smoke choking me, my vision went black, and I fainted. When I woke up again, everything was white. The air was thick with the smell of disinfectant. I was in the hospital. Where was Josie? I scrambled to get up. Chen Qi and my parents were by the bed, but there was no sign of Josie. Where is he? I looked at my parents and Chen Qi. He's injured, but he's resting. Don't worry. He'll be better soon. You're lying. The fire was so big. How could he be okay? I cried, climbing out of bed despite my family's attempts to stop me, and ran outside. As I ran, I cried out, Josie, where are you? There was still no response. My heart sank lower and lower. Josie, please answer me. Just as I was about to give up hope, a familiar voice came from ahead. Silly girl. I'm here. I quickly wiped away my tears and looked over. At the end of the corridor, Josie was leaning on a crutch, looking at me. He was covered in cuts and bruises, but he managed a weak smile on his handsome face. I sprinted forward and hugged him tightly. I wanted to say something, but all that came out were sobs. Don't cry. As soon as I heard your voice, I jumped out of the window. I hurt my leg, but don't worry. It'll heal in a few months. The more he comforted me, the harder I cried. Why are you so stupid? Sob. He wiped the tears from my face with one hand. I'm not stupid, because it's you. It's worth it. His resolute words struck my heart. I buried my head in his chest, crying uncontrollably. My parents and Chen Qi caught up with me at that moment. Zhu Hao also walked out of Josie's hospital room. Sister Susu, the captain forced himself out of bed because he was worried about you. If you keep hugging him like this, He might end up worse than he is. At that, my cheeks flushed red. I quickly helped Josie back to his bed. As I was about to leave, he held my hand tightly. Susu, promise you'll never leave me again? My nose stung, and I nodded heavily. Okay.